right, so today's video, I have this little conveyor that I'm going to be scrapping out. Now this thing is complete with a 1/4 horsepower motor, electric motor, and this thing stretches all the way to 9 feet. This thing's 9 foot long. And I bought this at an auction for $5.75. Now I don't plan on making a whole lot of money on this thing. It's just one of those unusual things. And I get a lot of people that comment in the comment sections about that they like the idea that I have a lot of unusual things to scrap out. You know, might not make a whole lot of money on, but that's just unusual, different, you know, just kind of a different thing to tear apart and scrap out. Not that you're going to come across these a lot. I probably never will again. When I went to this auction, there were several of them available. I put a $5 bid on all of them, and this was the only one that I got. I don't remember if it's the smallest motor, if it's the shortest one. I don't remember any of that. It's just the fact that I see that it has a lot of extruded aluminum underneath here. This whole piece right here is all extruded aluminum. It's got a steel casing on the front and the conveyor and the little bitty motor there, a 1/4 horsepower motor, like I said. And I even thought about scrapping everything on this except for the motor and trying to sell that. I looked on Marketplace in my area. These things are a dime a dozen. I've seen people selling for $10 and they're still sitting on them. So I know I'll scrap that out. If it's copper, I might get about $5 or $6 out of the copper and the steel in it. And I would rather do that than sit on it for who knows how long just to get a couple extra bucks. I like to move things in the shop and move them out, you know, to get rid of the stuff. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to tear this thing apart. Like I was saying, a lot of people give compliments about the unusual things we scrap out here. And so this is just one of those things. I bought it because it's just unusual. So this conveyor does work. It's just a 110 plug. Plug that thing in and it works nice. Dump a little bit of product on here. It does work pretty neat, but I really don't have any use for it, so we're just going to scrap it out. But let's go ahead and weigh it up and see what it weighs. You know, I like to weigh things up. All right, so I got it on the scale here to zero it out. Let's just weigh it and see what it weighs. So it comes in at 85 pounds. So 85 pounds, as it stands, I could take that in for just shred scrap and collect, it's 8.5 cents a pound, so it's like $7.23. Okay, so we know we're gonna make money on that conveyor there. How much, I don't know. Well, we'll tear apart and find out. But before we get to that, I wanna share with you questions from the comment section. A lot of things about my shop here. People are curious, I get it. I'm happy to share things with you. One of the big questions I get is my crane. What I use to lift my heavy objects from that I have mounted in my ceiling. And you can see that I have it's just a 1,000-pound winch, and I have it beefed up with a bunch of 4x4s up there, going from the top of the trusses to the bottom and going from one truss to another to stabilize it. It's probably overkill. It'll lift more than 1,000 pounds. I've never had it struggle or anything like that. So that's my crane. And another question I get is my crane scale. A lot of people ask about that. It's something I bought off of Amazon. It will lift 4,500 pounds. I can't remember. Let's see if it says on here. Yeah, so it's 4,500 pounds. It's a crane scale. Got it off of Amazon. I think it was a couple $100. I don't remember. But I also get comments that this scale is not accurate. I weigh something, apparently they don't think it weighs that much, and that's what the scale comes up to. I'll tell you what matters is when I weigh 100 pounds of copper and I take it to the scrapyard and they also read 100 pounds, that's all that matters to me. So if it's not accurate, it's good enough for me. So we'll just leave it at that. Here's another thing that I get comments on is my vise. See, this is a workforce vise, a workforce bullet vise. It's a very nice vise. They're not expensive. I got that at an auction for 30 bucks. And if you watch my previous videos, you'll see that this is different from the one that I had at the beginning, which was a Vivor. And I paid like $80 for that one. And it lasts about 5 months and that thing broke. I work them out pretty good. So I'm not saying that anything's wrong with it. It was just, I just, you know, crank them down pretty hard and pound on them a lot. And it just gave in finally. I don't know how long this one will last, but it's been doing pretty good so far. Here's another question I get is my cable cutters here. So these cable cutters are, these things are HK Porter cable cutters. And those things will, I've cut 500 MCM with those. Those are some nice cable cutters. I bought these at an auction for $70. And that is a steal because these things brand new are $600-700. And then here's another question I get is about these little cable cutters that I have, these ratcheting cable cutters. That's also a ratcheting cable cutter. You've seen that in videos before. I've had that, I've cut stuff with it in videos before. These are a smaller one to cut smaller cables with. And these things work really nice. They're ratcheting, they're very easy to use. I got these on Amazon for like 30 bucks or something. You can look at that and write that down if you're interested in those. And of course, this is my wire stripper. There's the one side. I have that mounted down onto this table here. Now this is a, and I'm not advertising this. Don't get me wrong here. I'm just sharing with you what people ask me a lot. This is a Stripmeister E2000X. Now it has a 1 horsepower motor on it. It'll cut up to like a 3-inch wire, which I've never had anything like that, but I've had some probably, you've seen in other videos where I've cut stuff and you know, I've had some pretty big wire through that thing and it works fine. I have no problems with it. So if you're looking to buy some kind of a wire stripper, you know, look around it, you know, before you spend, this thing here is like about 2,000 bucks, you know, 19 with the tax and everything, it's about $2,000 shipped to your house. Before you spend 2,000 on something like this, there's a lot better options out there. I kind of wish I would have looked around a little more, but you know, nothing wrong with this in here. It does fine for what we do here in our shop. If we got into more wire and a lot bigger wire, I would definitely probably look into getting something better. And there are better options out there, you know, shop around. Don't buy this thing here just because you've seen it here, you know, by no means. Shop around. There are better ones out there. There are ones that you can throw a 250 MCM piece of wire through and it'll cut it on both sides. This one does not. You got to throw it through 2 times to get the cut on both sides. So that's that. You know, this part of my shop that I work in now, I kind of revamped this about 3 years ago. If you look up here in my rafters, you can see my ceiling. There was a wall here at one time and it was all insulated on this side here, but I've since moved the wall in that direction and this is all open now. This is my shop here. That part over there was my workshop. But I changed that into something different. I'll show you what I did with this. Let's go through this door right here. So this, this is what I call my golf room here. I actually put a new wall in here. So right on the other side of this wall is my shop. That's where we just came from. But this here is a 15-foot wide room right here, and it's 30 feet deep. And we put a golf simulator in here. You know, we like to golf, or I like to golf. Charlotte don't like to golf, but we can also watch TV on this, YouTube, football games, and that's a 12.5 by 9.5 foot screen. And when we have people over here, we can watch a football game. It works out really great. I put this into golf. Let me show you. So that's what we do for fun here. Like I said, we can also watch TV on it. So we can also watch our favorite YouTube channels. Here's a good one right here, the Charlotte and Gary Scrapping Show. So this is on a 12.5 by 9.5 foot screen, so it's pretty big. So this is the kind of things that we do just for fun. I just wanted to show you around the shop a little bit. This thing doesn't get as much use as I was expecting it to get. I thought I'd be out here a lot more golfing and stuff, but pretty much when the family comes over, that's about when we come out here and hit the golf clubs. Didn't really improve my golf game any, but anyway, let's get back to scrapping. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start tearing into this. I'm just gonna start by taking these steel edges off of here. 85 pounds isn't really heavy, but when it's stretched over 9 feet, it's very awkward and a little difficult to maneuver here. It looks like these are Allens. So let's go ahead and start. So as I'm tearing this thing apart, I'll tell you, it's getting, just because of the weather, it's cold. We just got 10 inches of snow, a snowstorm. We're still under, I think, level 2 snow emergencies right now, just because it got so cold. I mean, right now it's like 6 or 7 degrees outside. Well, in saying that, I'm just... there's not a whole lot of auctions going on. So there is actually an auction coming up this Saturday, and it's actually a live one. And they have some wire at it and some other extension cords and stuff like that I would be interested in going and buying. But I already have plans for this weekend, and I can't get out of the plans to go to an auction. Although there is an online auction that's coming up. And this same Saturday, they have a preview. So I am going to go to that, which it's earlier in the morning before my plans start. Before what I had to do. So like I said, this thing is already paid for itself. There's more scrap than I paid for this thing. I paid $575 for it. I could get, I think I said $723 just out of scrap. Right, first piece of steel. Set that aside. There was a couple of screws that aren't cooperating. Okay, there's one. It's not breaking loose, that is stripping. All right, gotta figure something out here. That ain't helping. That's just stripping. Yeah, that one's stripped. That was a different size. All right. Sometimes you gotta another piece. off of there. Slide that piece off. That's all going to be shred. There's a bunch of screws in here. Gotta get those out of there. Actually, I think this is stainless. Yeah, this piece is stainless. There's a couple of gears right here that are magnetic. So the rest of it is aluminum. Gotta get these gears out of here. So let's go ahead and take this motor off of here. This thing here is really being difficult. Makes it awkward and heavy with that motor on there. Yeah, right. Make things a lot easier. All right, so we got that motor separated, and I've got this conveyor all cleaned up. I'm gonna break this down in probably 3 pieces because 9 foot's a little too long to take to the scrapyard. I'm gonna go ahead and tear this motor apart and pull the copper out of it and separate the steel and the copper. And we will, like I said, cut this down and we're gonna weigh everything up, see what we come up with. But I'll do that off camera just to save you the boredom of watching me tear another motor apart. All right, I'll get back with you. All right, so I got this motor partially broke down. We got a little bit of a cast aluminum, a little bit of brass there, and here's the rotor and the motor. I already split that with a machete. There's a good chunk of copper in there. I'm impressed with a 1/4 horsepower electric motor. I was expecting to be less, but I think we're gonna get a couple pounds out of that. So I think we're doing better than if I would have sold it for 10 bucks. So let me get the copper out and I will get back with you and we'll weigh it up and see how we did. Okay, so we're all done tearing that apart. We're just gonna go ahead and weigh it up and see how we did with this $5.75 conveyor. So first thing I'm gonna do, turn this on. I'm going to weigh the stainless steel here. There wasn't a whole lot, just this 1 9-foot piece that I've bent up here. We weighed that out. Almost 8 pounds, 7.85 pounds. And we had some extruded aluminum. I also cut those down to about 3-foot pieces here. And that's pretty good. 14.05 pounds. 14.05. Extruded aluminum is like $1.28. So that's a pretty good chunk of extruded. And we had a little bit of cast aluminum. Maybe a pound or so. It's just come off the ends of those that motor. Yep. 1.7. And we had some steel here. Got a bucket of steel here. I'll take 2 pounds off for the bucket here. Throw that rotor in there, that gearbox, and these end rails. Comes up to 58 pounds. 58 pounds. So, and the copper windings. Good chunk of copper there. All right, so I'm gonna put this down, tear that out, and see what we got here. Not bad. 2.05 pounds. 2.05. Okay, so before we get to these numbers here, I wanted to talk about these little pieces here that were in my last video. A lot of people made comments that, hey, these things were probably chrome coated brass. And I don't know if you can see that very well. I cut really deep into them, and and it throws sparks. So I was just letting you know, I did double check with these pieces here, and they are stainless steel. So thanks for everybody that commented on that, because sometimes I'll make mistakes, and boy, that would have been a costly one. So, okay, so now we're back to the numbers here. Okay, so for the stainless steel, we had 7.85 pounds for $2.36. And the extruded aluminum here, 14.05 pounds at $1.28, comes to $17.98. Cast aluminum, we had 1.7 at 60 cents. That's $1.02. And the steel, which is paying 8.5 cents a pound now. We have 58 pounds at $4.93, and the copper. Number 2 copper out of that little 1/4 horsepower motor got 2 pounds of copper at $4.50 a pound. And that comes to $9.23 for a grand total of $35.52. And we spent $5.75 on it. So that was a pretty good turnaround there. All right, so before we leave here, I want to just mention this. I don't know if anybody's interested. So a couple of videos ago, I bought a Cat 6 home installation kit, and it came complete with all these tools. Come with 500 foot of cat wire, which is what I was after. And then we have this kit. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. I was just going to throw it in the trash. It comes with crimpers. It comes with like your little connectors for your computers and whatever. Comes with some face plates. There's singles and there's doubles. Honestly, I'm just going to throw this in the garbage can. But if somebody wants it, email me. I'll have my email in the description, and I'll send it to you for free. I'll pay for the shipping and everything. I'd rather see it go to somebody that can use it, or maybe somebody wants to resell it. I don't know. I have no use for it. I don't like to do the reselling stuff. But if somebody wants this, like I said, email me, and I will send it out to you. I'll get your address through the email so somebody can put it to good use, and that would make me happy. Otherwise, I'm just going to throw it away. So in saying that, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the tour of our shop. And if you have any questions about any other thing in the shop, put it in the comments. I'll be happy to go over it with you and share it with other people. So that's going to do it for this video today. And I got to get my scrap to the scrap yard so I can get paid. Thanks for watching.